Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to the alpha for Warhammer 40k Dark Heresy. As today, our investigation takes us into one of the darker corners of Maris Portum Sectoris. Not, I suppose, that things have really been all that bright thus far, but, you know, everything's relative. And you know, really, how much worse could things possibly get? Haha. I'm just going to say, you know, maybe brace yourself for your potential nightmare fuel. This is the grimdark future. Alright, let's have a look. Hey, there we go. Okay, we've got a light. With partial control? Seems to be based on facing plus some mouse movements, like if we're stationary. It follows the mouse. That's actually pretty nice. We're also seeing bodies, like this one here. Visible but tucked behind impassable terrain. Though these are a bit more open. Can we... Oh, yep, here we go. The corpse in the robes of the flock of repentance lies in a contorted pose, its limbs bent at unnatural angles and its ribs protruding from the bloody furrows on its back. Which could be foul play, but could also just be truly excessive self-flagellation. Oh, and we can't get to the other body. It's actually blocked by this... Yeah, this door right here. Perhaps we'll find a way to open that. Wow, they really went all out with the atmosphere here. Almost feels like I'm playing a completely different game all of a sudden. Though I suppose I will say the slightly cluttered UI does somewhat take away from the horror game vibes. But not too much. It's definitely enough to still keep me on edge. Oh. We just pinged something. But what? Damp scrolls. We sought them, the punishers of the wicked, his beloved messengers. They are woven from shadows, yet born in darkness from a brilliant flash. And we have found their cradle. We will be ready when they come. Our mortal frames will endure the pain, and his blessing will descend upon our following. Interesting. Vague enough to not really ping whether it's Imperial or Chaos, aside from perhaps the shadow part. I mean, depending on how charitably we're trying to interpret it. Ooh, restart generator. Okay. So that lit up a room behind us. Scorgulian Ripper Gun. Staff of Binding. Psyker Staff for telekinetics. Survivalist Heavy Armor. Armory World Origin. Double perception bonus on hit chance. Auto Medicae. Whenever the wearer's wounds drop below 20% for the first time in combat, they regain 6 times toughness bonus wounds. Not bad. Unfortunately, also something I don't think we can actually use, since our only character trained to use heavy armor is Cog, and that armor is not Ogren-sized. Yeah, all of our other characters use standard armor. Oh wow, and that Staff of Binding is pretty inferior as well. Oh, actually, can... No. Okay, well, perhaps unsurprisingly, Larthir is not willing to use a human Psyker staff. And yeah, the Skorgulian Ripper gun is identical to the one we already have. Weird loot. A gun we already had on the one character who could actually use it. A staff weaker than the one we came in with. And armor that none of our characters are keyed to wear. Though I suppose that would be less of a big deal if and when we play the full game and can actually make our own character. Just feels odd in a vacuum, I suppose, considering that we're currently working with what essentially amounts to a fully prefab party. Here we go. The corpse shows no signs of violence. Its astonished face is splattered with someone else's blood. It clutches a rotting fishtail in a death grip. Interesting. An unnaturally straight groove in the cave floor emits a faint smell of ozone. Yeah, and then that's where we came in. We saw the corpses through this gap here. Secret door, just off left. So back down the bend. An echo from beyond the veil. Something has torn the fabric of reality in this place. Yeah, I was kind of getting that impression myself. Thanks, Lar. Unnaturally straight groove. Not the same as our mysterious spheres, but possibly in the same general ballpark. Given the whole thing about creatures born of shadow, it does seem like we might be dealing with some general warp weirdness here. Oh, boy. Careful, careful. Looks like some high-end decor. I'm seeing a portrait there. I'm seeing furniture. A collection of literature on the idle pastimes of highborn lords, with detailed descriptions of their palace interiors. Okay, well, I mean, that right there kind of pegs this as the work of a bored noble. Maniac's Vox. My dearest admirer, I am ineffably delighted to meet you. I am certain you took great pleasure in witnessing my installations. Otherwise our paths would never have crossed. My art transcended the limits of paint and canvas back in the spires, but the noble public fears novelty, and only by descending into the filthy depths of Sibyllus have I been able to reach true heights. Ironic, is it not? In the Silenza Sectoris, I realized how limited my thinking had been. The entire world is my canvas, and people are so full of paint. It flows from them endlessly, drenching everything around. This flawless picture haunts me. Arched bodies, fountaining torsos, their arms and heads all arranged in a grotesque pattern. True art. With what murderous zeal did I try to replicate it, and finally I managed to deconstruct those tedious bodies and transform them into sublime satire. That feeling when from mundane and banal parts something magnificent emerges. Is it familiar to you? I have always been inspired by the duality of Sibyllus. Wealth and filth, poverty and luxury, each part blames the other for its problems, yet they cannot live without one another. The divine romance. The time has come to enjoy the pinnacle of my conception. The installation is not yet complete. Who, then, guides this dualistic monstrosity? Who allowed it to be torn in two? I cannot resist the temptation to ask you, whose head would you, my passionate follower, place upon the neck of this mutant? I can feel you trembling with desire to see my version, and it is almost ready. All that remains is the touch of a genius's hand. This blood simply will not stop. Where in this hole can one find a Medicae? Wow, okay, yeah, so that pretty much clinches it. We're looking at the works of a Spire-born serial killer, an artist drawing dark inspiration from whatever transpired in the Silenza Sectoris, the same sector where Ursimus was essentially reborn. Oh yeah. And now seeks to recreate the horrors he witnessed, using the bodies and blood of freshly claimed victims. Honestly, you know, in the grand scheme of things, relatively tame for the setting. Considering that, needle pistol, that's likely how they subdued their victims. Those are used to inject chems or paralytics into targets. Right. A poison needle protrudes from the victim's neck. The head has been neatly sawed off. The clean cut suggests it was done post-mortem. And I'm going to guess that's the head right over there. His display piece. With this being what? A pile of refuse, leftover parts. Grease-stained pages and a filthy binding contain numerous blueprints for installations made from bodies. Within the foul-smelling heap, one can make out the rotting parts of human bodies. Great, so maybe stop standing in it. I just wanted to give it a look, not actually wade into it. A gunshot wound to the thigh prematurely ended the career of the installation artist. Interesting, so already dead when we got here. Likely from an injury sustained whilst claiming their latest victim. The headless corpse over yonder, perhaps. The head is the crowning piece of the installation. The eyes have rolled back, and a magistratum token is clenched between its teeth. I don't know, man. I feel like as far as grim depictions of the duality of man go, this one's pretty mediocre. Wow, so is that really it? Are the disappearances all just the work of an esoteric spirer trying to find some sadistic artistic outlet? I feel like there's got to be more to it than that. We did find multiple members of the flock here. Mention of a thinning veil. I mean, obviously it all stems from whatever happened in the Silenza sector. Let's review. See if there's anything else here that's not readily jumping out at us. A dark cave hidden away from the prying eyes in the cliffs of Marisportum. Bodies with horrible wounds were found, as well as traces of an unidentified force that melted steel and stone. It was the hideout of a maniac who composes still lifes from the bodies of his victims. The wounds on the bodies in the cave were inflicted by a lightning claw power weapon. The traces found in the cave match those of the Astarte's Teleportarium effects, previously recorded on Schultes' Valor. Okay, well hold on now. Astartes imply Space Marines. And I'm assuming Schultes' Valor is from the prologue. A fair chunk of the narrative we have not gotten to see. Which actually might instead imply that this... Okay, well hold on. That might imply that whatever happened in the Silenza sector is related to the activities of Space Marines, chaos or otherwise. Let's see what else we connect here. Maniac's Vox, a gilded vox found in the sinister hideout of a maniacal murderer. New information added. Tragedy of the Selenza Sectoris. A maniac in Merisportum has been using bodies to create still lifes, fascinated by the bloody events of the Selenza Sectoris. Well, that doesn't really tell us much. I mean, aside, I suppose, from indicating that both this guy and Ursimus, who do overlap somewhat because we did find members of his flock in this cave, were both inspired by whatever happened in Selenza. And damp scrolls, records of the deceased adepts of the Flock of Repentance found in dire condition in the depths of a cave. Inspired by Confessor Ursimus's sermons, the followers of the flock sought an encounter with certain punishers of wickedness sent by the Emperor, which would certainly sound like Space Marines. The clues found in the cave point to the presence of a renegade Astartes in the lower hab zones of Hive Sibelius. Okay, so we're just talking straight up Chaos Space Marine. Key tactics of the renegade Astartes in the lower hab zones of Hive Sibelius: violent pacification of civilians, terror, and population suppression by broadcasting Vox recordings of torture. Which, not to put too fine a point on it, certainly sounds like it might be something Ursimus is helping with, wittingly or otherwise. He is basically going around convincing people to torture themselves and others after what he witnessed in Selenza. Wow, you know, I was really kind of expecting a Spyrer serial killer or maybe a rogue assassin, but man, full-on Chaos Space Marine, I did not see that coming. Oh, okay, well, there we go. The burning of the Selenza Sectoris hab zone was a consequence of the Night Lord's campaign of terror. So not just Space Marines, we are talking straight up Night Lords. The 40k equivalent of vampiric counts. Not super familiar with them, but I have definitely heard of them. I mean, yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and assume that's true. That's way too specific for us to really counter with our current limited info, but I imagine it would have made a lot more sense if we'd actually gotten to play the prologue. Confessor Ursimus was the victim of the Night Lord's merciless terror in a neighboring hab zone. Yes, I will say that is probably also true. He is probably now working essentially as one of their agents. I don't think they classically use like mind control or anything, but I mean, given that they are obviously drawing pretty heavy inspiration from classic vampiric lore, it wouldn't surprise me. Chaos Space Marines do tend to use magic from time to time. Man, wow, that really went in a direction I was not expecting. Though again, it would probably make more sense if we'd seen whatever we missed in the prologue. It sounds like we missed a lot. Though obviously for our purposes here, the most immediate impact it'll have is on our conversation with Ursimus. That will certainly be interesting. I'd imagine that whatever torments he endured likely put him into a deep state of delusion. I mean, he might believe that the Night Lord in question is in fact one of the Emperor's angels, an actual full-fledged Space Marine in good standing. That also really does kind of recontextualize what we found back at Milla Centilia's camp. It wasn't just the fanatics who disappeared her expedition. They may have infiltrated the camp and acted as spies and saboteurs, but the evidence of teleportation, the bisected tech priest, those point towards the idea that at some point Night Lords took a more direct hand in things, perhaps even taking the expedition crew themselves, thus leaving the camp open, which would then have been followed by bandits and Kroot and others, emerging from the woodwork to investigate, thus leading to the conflicting tracks and such we stumbled upon after the fact. Alright, I think that pretty much clinches it. You know, I was kind of torn as to whether I wanted to go up top or out to the swamp next to potentially meet our Kroot, but after what we just found, I think we need to prioritize confronting Ursimus. And I suppose the Baron, he's up top as well. Also, I suppose at this point we found a lot more evidence regarding the missing people in general than we have about Rufinus Scragg in particular. Just makes sense to follow through on this one first. Though I would not be surprised if they do ultimately end up overlapping anyway. Owlcat does love to interweave their plot threads. Hear my words, sons and daughters. His messengers have revealed the truth to me. We are all transgressors, cursed with pride. But there is salvation. Repent. Wash away your crimes with your own blood. You're not welcome here, preacher. Clear off while you're still in one piece. Baron, you cannot stop his word. Just as you cannot stop the wrath of the elements he has unleashed upon us for our transgressions. Repent. Show your people the way. The next pain peddler that shows up on my land, I'll send you in pieces. This is my last warning, old man. Right. Thus really hammering in the current conflict between the supposed man of faith and the local criminal underground. Though, I mean, based on what we found thus far, it sounds like neither is really much good for Mirasportum, though I suppose you might argue the Baron. Slightly more so than the alternative. At the very least, the Baron is a representation of simple human vice and survival, whereas Ursimus himself is something else entirely. And there's another bisected corpse. In fact, that might be the other half of the one we found down below, since I imagine this ladder takes us right back down there. Also, this is right next to where Ursimus just went, so I imagine his church is just over yonder. The corpse has a scarf around its neck, made of some expensive material. The cut on the torso is even, and there are no tattoos. The corpse's bent fingers point toward the giant pipes at the edge of the hab zone. Words in neat calligraphic writing have been carved into the corpse's thigh. His punishment will soon come to all. Interesting. A message left for Ursimus, perhaps? Maybe that's how the Night Lord communicates with his local agent? Not exactly subtle, but certainly more so than a half-ton Night Lord. Turn out your pockets. What you got in there? It's weighing down your trousers. Master Stonehead, it's just some old rubbish. What are you trying to spin? It's up to the Baron to decide what's rubbish and what's not. Or do you want to lose his protection? Turn them out, now! Pretty basic protection racket, it looks like. Let's sway in. Back again. He'll strip me bare. Daylight robbery. He wants rubbish. Like calls to like. The man in front of you has such a sturdy build that his head seems to be merging directly into his body, with no neck between. Aluminum tattoos hint at his connection to the Baron's gang. His sweatiness, rapid breathing, and bloodshot eyes give away his fondness for stimulants. Looking for trouble? You're in the right place. I mean, I'm not exactly on the market for it, but I keep finding it anyway. Though I have to say, it feels like someone who accosts random passers-by might be looking for some trouble themselves. What makes you so bold? The man puffs out his chest, adjusting his grip on his weapon. Stonehead's my name. Top man in the Baron's Carvers and all that. Uh-huh. And what, your job is to shake down local vagrants? The Baron says, before the new flood hits, we need to whip things into shape. That means the locals have to hand over whatever they've got tucked away so we can put it to use. That's where I come in, getting them moving. When I'm around, they don't feel like hiding nothing. Right, so has the thought at all occurred to you that you've been sent down here to essentially become the face of the Baron's least popular policy? What happens when you inevitably run into someone who actually pushes back? You really think your boss sent you down here because you're hard to replace? The big man knits his brows, and his mental exertion causes him to sweat even more. Finally, it dawns on him that you are threatening him. This discovery leaves him somewhat shocked. Hey, don't be daft, all right? It's not me bullying them. I do as the Baron says. But fine then. We won't push them too hard. Great. Glad to hear it. You might actually serve some use. I'm currently down here on Imperial business, looking into a number of mysterious disappearances. But as a local, I'm sure you've already heard about that. I'd love to pick your brain. What? What disappearances? Really, you haven't heard anything about any disappearing people? Nothing. Yeah, I've seen nothing. And even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. Those who talk too much end up with too many problems. Well, like it or not, you know about it now because I just told you. Any thoughts on where these people might be disappearing to? I don't know. Maybe they got on the Baron's bad side and then disappeared? Happens all the time around here. Or maybe the sea took them. Yeah, maybe. How about Heresy? I don't suppose you've seen anything suspect regarding potential departure from standard Imperial doctrine? Hey, well, what now? You mean something not about the God Emperor? Yeah, I've seen it. Over at the diver's place, they put up this statue. Scary looking thing. Don't exactly look like the God Emperor. They leave fish and good drink there. Bunch of idiots. Should have had it all themselves. Thanks. You've been very useful. I appreciate your assistance. The bandit ignores your remark, distracted by cries of pain coming from afar. How about this? Since you're apparently one of the Baron's most prized men, I'm sure you know about this, combat stim? Gergesum, right? I'd love to know more about that. What? Oh, the black sludge. Yeah, the Baron gives it to us. Potent stuff. After I have some, I can take down a dozen bog freaks easy. And I don't feel like sleeping at all. Stonehead clumsily pulls an injector filled with oily black liquid from under his clothes and shows it to you. At the sight of the Gergesum, the bandit licks his lips in anticipation. Huh, well look at that. You know, I was thinking about approaching your boss with a potential business deal, but it would be contingent on exactly what this stuff can do. You mind if I partake? If things work out, I'll certainly put in a good word. Doubt flickers on his heavy face, weathered by toxic winds. The Baron says we need to recruit new people. Fine, take it. But it's free only this one time. Got it? Got it. Well, my friend, I appreciate your time and your chems. We'll see if this works out, but, you know, your guessum is as good as mine. Don't go too far. I might have more uses for you later down the line. Yeah, I wasn't planning on going nowhere in the first place. Indeed. Which I believe gives us our second vial of Gergesum. We pulled one off a corpse down below as well. Can't really do anything with them, though. There's no way to analyze or otherwise interact with them as far as I recall. Yeah, right there. Mixed in with our other plot items. People are telling us they're combat stims, but we can't actually inject them. Not that I'd really want to, but I'm just not sure what we're supposed to otherwise do with them. Nice, nice. Looks like more loot just over yonder as well. Up on the elevated gantries. We'll grab this, then circle back. And yet another injector. Which again really begs the question of what do we do with all this stuff? We've now got 3. Alright, let's pop back over here. We saw the way up over yonder. Ursimus is around here somewhere as well, but at this point we might not have enough time left to really get into that. Since I have to imagine things might escalate a mite bit quickly if and when we bring up the potential Night Lord in the mix. Whispering bandits. It's been a while since we last saw that bastard Dursus. Even seems a bit suspicious. Yeah, well, wouldn't mind not seeing him for just as long again. Still hear that woman's screams in my ears. He really went all out that time. The lads say the only skin she had left was on her face. Maybe someone's finally done him in. Oh, I'd give anything to see that. Maybe we should tell the Baron that bastard swiped something from the warehouse. Sorry to butt in, but did I just hear you two talking about Dursus? They've caught us! Let's go! Right, and what better way to escape than to run straight through the people you're trying to escape from? Fair enough, though. I imagine we already got what we were going to get from them. Dursus is Sister Septima's guy. Her spy sent to keep tabs on Ursimus. Though, based on what they were saying, it sounds like he might be just as bad. I can feel the place where the veil is thinnest. Somewhere close. Okay, unexpected bonus. Let's do this. The Xenos enters the shabby dwelling and goes still. After a few moments, he nods. Yes, this is one of the suitable places. The currents of the Empyrean are strong here. You should keep your distance. The ritual will not tolerate any interference, and a song that slips free from its notes could be perilous. Here, you're sure? As a rule, your pitiful kind are too deaf to perceive the notes of the Empyrean. I am not surprised that one of you latched on to the idea of erecting a dwelling right here, where the veil is at its thinnest. Perhaps they liked vivid dreams. Well, aside from whoever lives here, you do realize we're right in the middle of a residential block, right? The Xenos casts a glance over his shoulder at you. I say again, anyone who interferes with a ritual, even by their presence, risks being captured by the song. Protect your kind as you see fit. Okay, I'll certainly see what I can do. Let's just get this done. The Aeldari makes a sweeping gesture with his arm, and the space around him fills with a strange vibration, as if the air itself is trying to turn into a string and sing. The hairs on the back of your neck stand up. A man in soiled clothing and with a stump for an arm cranes his neck warily, trying to peer inside. Is that one from the flock? Is he here to consecrate our houses? You idiot. The upper hivers must have finally sent someone to help us with this flood. Right? The onlooker seems ready to jump out of his boots just to see what is going on in the squalid dwelling. Look, we are here to help, but we need room to work. Everyone stay back, for your own good. Something in your words, or rather, your tone, makes the onlooker flinch. He narrows his eyes at you warily before turning away. I wasn't going to... No need for that. No need for us to hang around. No need at all. You hear a long sigh from the box speaker in the Xeno's helmet. I am finished in this place. He looks around. I heard noise. You managed to restrain the monkey's pernicious curiosity. Commendable. I do not need any interference. Yeah, well, I told you I'd take care of it, so I did. Now, how about you? How'd things go on your end? Learned something useful, I hope. Nothing. The monkey's interference disrupted my focus. I mean, if that's all it takes to disrupt your work. You know, Scintilla's a hive world. There's billions of humans here. It's a wonder you've gotten anything done at all, let alone even gotten as far as you have. My kin helped me reach the star system. From there, I traveled in secret, using my powers to erase my very presence from the minds of the monkey. Too few possess the gift among your kind, so my journey was not overshadowed by the threat of discovery. Not quite what I meant, but good to know. I do have to ask, though, are you actually concerned about potential collateral damage, or are these people just another obstacle for you to overcome? Do you care about your own kind? Larthier pauses. Nothing I have seen on this world in my brief sojourn suggests that monkey feel any empathy or care for their own. Why should other species treat you any differently? You know, I'm starting to see why you and Millicentilia work together. Though I suppose the question there is who approached who first. Larthier clicks his tongue. I will let Inquisitor Millicentilia herself reveal the details of our meeting, if she deems it necessary. For now, enough questions. Yeah, sounds like you don't really have much to offer anyway. You just about done? I wish it were true, but no. I need to hear more songs. Let's continue our search. Will do. Yeah, we've still got a third spot we have to find somewhere. Though we did also comment on the hidden cave. Might have to revisit that off screen just in case I missed something. The Imperial Skull is surrounded by strange spikes, uncharacteristic of the usual heraldry. I mean, I'm going to say a bunch of asymmetrical spikes certainly feels pretty heretical to me, but then again, who knows? Imperial iconography gets pretty weird. Also, it does not escape me that the Thinning Veil, the spot Lar just investigated, is right next to Ursimis's church. So thus far, the spots we found Thinning Veil are the expedition site, the hidden cave with the serial killer, right next to Ursimis's church, right next to Sister Septima's camp, and one more in the wind. All locations that a Night Lord infiltrator might take interest in. So while I do still think that there is likely some grand eldritch entity in the mix here, I think our immediate issues are a bit more grounded, you know, relatively speaking. The veil is fluttering. A place for the ritual is near. Find your way behind the building next to us. Oh, you mean Ursimis's church? Gosh, what a coincidence. So Thinning Veil on either side of where our local confessor set up shop. Alright, well that does feel pretty on the nose. And it makes it all the more likely that things are likely to go south once we push things any further. That said, we'll hit the pause button for now. I'll take care of the usual off-screen bookkeeping, review our current clues, and possibly rebalance our current loadouts a bit, since combat does seem inevitable. And we will pick up here next time, as we do what we Ursa must. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Eerie V23, Revenant, Alois, Bowman, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Lady Shayna, Mark Giemza, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.